You know that feeling when you think you know someone's story, but then they finally tell you what really happened behind closed doors? Well, buckle up, because Jennifer Aniston is about to take us on a journey through one of Hollywood's most talked about breakups. And trust me, what she's revealing now will completely change how you see everything that happened 20 years ago. This isn't just another celebrity gossip story. This is about a woman who smiled through her pain while the world watched, judged, and created narratives that couldn't have been further from the truth. And now, after 2 decades of silence, Jennifer is ready to set the record straight about her marriage to Brad Pitt. Picture this. It's July 29, 2000, and on a stunning clifftop estate in Malibu, California, 2 of Hollywood's biggest stars are getting married. Jennifer Aniston, America's sweetheart from Friends, and Brad Pitt, the heartthrob who could have any woman in the world, are saying "I do" in what was dubbed the wedding of the century. The event cost $1 million, featured a wall of caviar. Yes, you heard that right, a literal wall of caviar, $50,000 worth of flowers, and fireworks that lit up the Pacific Ocean. There were gospel singers, a 40-piece orchestra, and 200 of their closest friends and family members. Security was so tight that helicopters were banned from flying overhead, and guests were required to sign confidentiality agreements. This wasn't just a wedding. This was a statement of the world that this couple was untouchable, that their love was a real deal, that they were going to be together forever. But here's what nobody knew at that moment. As Jennifer walked down the aisle in her beaded Lawrence steel gown, with Brad waiting for her with tears in his eyes. Here's what the cameras didn't capture and what the magazines couldn't print. Jennifer was already struggling with something deeply personal, something that would haunt her throughout their marriage and beyond, something that the tabloids would twist into the cruelest narrative imaginable. She was quietly, privately, desperately trying to have a baby, and it wasn't working. Fast forward to early 2005. Jennifer filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. The media goes absolutely insane. Within weeks, Brad is photographed on a beach with Angelina Jolie and her son Maddox, looking every bit like a happy family. The photos are everywhere. You couldn't escape them. And the narrative that emerged was swift and brutal. Jennifer was a selfish career woman who refused to give Brad the children he desperately wanted. She chose her career over family. She was too focused on being famous. Brad had to leave to find someone who would give him what he needed. Angelina, the humanitarian, the mother, the woman who wasn't afraid of commitment and family, she was the hero in this story. And Jennifer? Jennifer became the villain in her own life story. But here's what really happened. And this is where Jennifer's recent revelations become absolutely heartbreaking. In a candid interview with Harper's Bazaar UK in 2025, 20 years after her divorce, Jennifer finally opened up about what she was going through during those years. And folks, it's nothing like what we were told. While the tabloids were screaming headlines about her being a career-obsessed woman who didn't want children, Jennifer was actually going through in vitro fertilization. She was drinking Chinese teas, getting acupuncture, doing everything humanly possible to get pregnant. She was trying every method available to conceive a child. This wasn't a woman who didn't want kids. This was a woman who wanted them so desperately that she was putting her body through incredibly difficult medical procedures, month after month, disappointment after disappointment. Jennifer revealed that she would have given anything to have someone sit her down during that time and say, "It's not going to happen. You're going to be okay. You're going to have a wonderful life." Instead, she spent years torturing herself, thinking maybe if she ate healthier, maybe if she tried one more time, maybe if she just wanted it badly enough, it would happen. The emotional toll was devastating. And through all of it, she had to watch as magazines published stories calling her selfish, heartless, career-obsessed. She had to read quotes from unnamed sources saying Brad left her because she wouldn't give him children. She had to see photos of Brad with Angelina and her kids, with the implicit message being, "See, this is what a real woman does. This is what family looks like." Let's talk about the timeline here, because timing is everything in this story. Brad Pitt met Angelina Jolie in 2003 on the set of Mr. and Mrs. Smith. At the time, he was still married to Jennifer. The movie started filming in early 2004, and by all accounts, the chemistry between Brad and Angelina was immediate and electric. Now, Both Brad and Angelina have maintained over the years that nothing physical happened while Brad was still married. They've insisted that they were just friends during filming, that they didn't act on their feelings until after Brad and Jennifer separated. But here's the thing that Jennifer has now revealed. It doesn't matter if nothing physical happened. The emotional affair, the connection, the falling in love with someone else while you're still married, that's just as devastating, if not more so. In recent interviews, Jennifer has talked about how Brad admitted to her that he had developed feelings for Angelina. Can you imagine that conversation? Your husband, the man you've been trying to build a family with, the man you've been sharing your most vulnerable moments with as you struggle with infertility, coming to you and telling you he's fallen for someone else. Someone who, by the way, already has children and wants more. The irony is so cruel, it's almost unbearable. Here's Jennifer, desperately trying to conceive, feeling like her body is failing her, feeling like she's failing her husband, and now learning that he's emotionally involved with a woman who embodies everything she's struggling to become, a mother. The photos from that time period tell a story that words can't quite capture. There's one photo in particular that Jennifer has referenced in interviews. The W magazine photo shoot that Angelina and Brad did in 2005, just months after Brad and Jennifer announced their separation. The photo shoot was styled to look like a 1960s married couple, with Brad and Angelina posing with kids in a house, playing at being a family. Jennifer saw those photos. The whole world saw those photos. And the message was clear. This is what Brad wanted all along. This is what he couldn't have with Jennifer. This is his real family now. Jennifer has described that period as such a vulnerable time. In her first interview after the split, the famous Vanity Fair interview from September 2005, she was photographed alone, looking stunning but deeply sad, sharing her pain with the world in a way that was both brave and heartbreaking. She talked about feeling blindsided by the breakup, about not understanding how they got to that point. But even then, even in her most candid moments, she was protecting Brad. She wasn't trashing him or revealing all the details. She was trying to maintain her dignity while her entire life was being dissected by millions of people. Looking back now, Jennifer says she has some PTSD from that experience. The media frenzy, what she calls a love triangle era, was unlike anything we'd seen before. This was before social media, before Twitter and Instagram, but the tabloid culture was vicious. Every week, there were new magazine covers with headlines like Jen's heartbreak, Brad's new family, Angelina wins. It was treated like a sport, like there were winners and losers, like these weren't real people with real feelings going through a devastating life change. But here's what makes Jennifer's story even more compelling. How she handled it all. Her survival approach, as she describes it, was simple. Pick yourself up by the bootstraps and keep on walking, girl. And that's exactly what she did. She didn't retreat from public life. She didn't stop working. She took on film roles that showed different sides of her talent. She continued filming Friends through her final season while her marriage was crumbling, maintaining professionalism even as her personal life was in chaos. She showed up to premieres and award shows with her head held high, even when she knew every photo would be compared to photos of Brad, with Angelina point one of the most revealing moments came in 2016, more than a decade after the divorce, when Jennifer wrote an op-ed for the Huffington Post titled, "For the Record." In it, she addressed the ongoing speculation about her body, her choices, and her childlessness. She wrote about how she was tired of being portrayed as someone who was tragic and unfulfilled because she didn't have children. She was tired of the narrative that she had somehow failed as a woman because she wasn't a mother. And she was tired of the implication that her career success was somehow compensation for the children she didn't have. What Jennifer revealed in that op-ed, and what she's expanded on in recent interviews, is something that resonates far beyond just her story. She's talking about the pressure society puts on women to define themselves by their ability to have children. She's talking about how women are judged and found wanting if they don't follow a certain path. She's talking about the pain of struggling with infertility, while the world assumes you're just selfish and career-focused. And she's talking about the loneliness of going through that struggle in silence, unable to defend yourself without revealing your most private pain. Jennifer has now disclosed that her fertility struggles lasted about 20 years. 20 years of hoping, trying, failing, grieving. 20 years of seeing pregnant women and feeling that pang of what might have been. 20 years of hearing people say things like, when are you going to have kids? Or, you'd be such a great mom, without knowing that each comment was like a knife to the heart. And through all of it, she maintained her privacy, her dignity, and her sense of humor. Let's talk about what happened after Brad, because Jennifer's story doesn't end with heartbreak. In 2011, she met Justin Theroux on the set of the movie Wanderlust. They started dating, got engaged in 2012, and married in a secret ceremony at their home in 2015. For a while, it seemed like Jennifer had found her happy ending. Justin was different from Brad, edgier, more private, less of a traditional movie star. They seemed genuinely happy together, posting sweet photos on social media, supporting each other's careers, building a life. But in February 2018, Jennifer and Justin announced their separation, and once again, Jennifer found herself at the center of speculation about what went wrong. This time, though, the divorce was handled completely differently. Jennifer and Justin released a joint statement emphasizing that they were separating as friends, that they were two best friends who had decided to go their separate ways, and asking for privacy during a difficult time. There were no tabloid wars, no competing narratives, no photos of either of them with someone new immediately after. They managed to end their relationship with grace and mutual respect. Justin has since spoken about Jennifer with nothing but kindness, saying she's still very dear to him and that he'll always be protective of her. Jennifer has said similar things about him. They've been seen together occasionally, clearly maintaining the friendship they talked about. It's a stark contrast to the way her relationship with Brad ended, and it shows how much Jennifer has grown and how much she's learned about protecting her own peace. Now, here's where the story gets really interesting. The reunion that broke the internet. In January 2020, at the Screen Actors Guild Awards, both Jennifer and Brad were nominated for awards. She was nominated for her role in The Morning Show. He was nominated for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. They both won. And when they ran into each other backstage after giving their acceptance speeches, the moment was captured by photographers, and it went absolutely viral. The photos show Brad stopping to watch Jennifer give her acceptance speech on a backstage monitor, his face showing what looked like genuine pride and affection. Then there's a moment they came face to face, and Brad reaching out to touch Jennifer's hand as she walked past him, and Jennifer pausing to greet him, both of them smiling. And finally, the hug, with Brad's hand on Jennifer's back and both of them looking genuinely happy to see each other. The internet absolutely lost its mind. People were shipping them all over again, hoping for a reconciliation, reading into every gesture and expression. But here's what Jennifer later said about that moment, and I think this is really important. She and Brad are friendly. They've moved past the pain of their divorce. They can see each other at industry events and be cordial, even warm. But that doesn't mean they're getting back together. It doesn't mean all is forgiven and forgotten. It means they're both adults who have done the work to move past their hurt and anger, who can acknowledge that they once loved each other deeply, and who can wish each other well without wanting to restart what they once had. Jennifer has been very clear in recent interviews that she doesn't hold grudges. She's not interested in being bitter or spending her energy on resentment. She said that her marriages to both Brad and Justin were successful in their own ways, that they were meaningful relationships that shaped who she is, and that the fact that they ended doesn't negate the good that came from them. This is such a mature, healthy perspective, and it's something she's clearly worked hard to achieve. But let's be real, working through that pain took years. Jennifer has been open about going to therapy, about doing the inner work to understand her patterns in relationships, about learning to be happy on her own before looking for happiness with someone else. She's talked about how being alone doesn't mean being lonely, how she's built a life filled with deep friendships, meaningful work, and personal fulfillment that doesn't depend on having a romantic partner. The friendship circle Jennifer has built around herself is pretty remarkable. She's famously close with her friends' co-stars, particularly Courtney Cox and Lisa Kudrow. She has a tight-knit group of female friends in Hollywood who support each other through career ups and downs and personal struggles. She's also maintained friendships with some of her exes, showing that she believes in the value of people who have been important to her life, even if romance didn't work out. And then there's her career, which has flourished in ways that might not have been possible if she'd gotten the traditional family life she once wanted. After Friends ended in 2004, Jennifer could have easily been typecast as Rachel Green forever. Instead, she deliberately chose roles that showed her range. The dramatic turn The Good Girl, the dark comedy of Horrible Bosses, the emotional depth she brought to Cake, which earned her SAG and Golden Globe nominations. And most recently, The Morning Show, which has won her another SAG award and shown that she can carry a prestige TV drama about complex, flawed women navigating power and ambition. Jennifer has also become a producer, taking control of her own projects and championing stories about women. She's used her platform to speak out about issues that matter to her, from pay equality in Hollywood to the way women are portrayed in media. She's become a voice for women who are tired of being defined by their relationship status or their parenting choices. She's shown that there are many ways to live a fulfilling, meaningful life, and none of them are invalid just because they don't look like what society expects. But let's circle back to the core revelation here, because this is what's really important. The truth about why her marriage to Brad ended, and how dramatically different that truth is from what we all believed for 20 years. Jennifer has been clear that it wasn't about her refusing to have children. It was about her inability to have children despite desperately wanting them, combined with Brad falling in love with someone else. Those are two completely different narratives, and the false narrative caused Jennifer incredible pain on top of the pain she was already experiencing. Imagine being Jennifer in 2005. You're going through a divorce. You're dealing with the grief of your fertility struggles. You're watching your ex-husband immediately move on with a woman who is everything you're struggling to be. And on top of all that, you're being blamed for the divorce, being called selfish and career-obsessed, being judged by millions of people who have no idea what you're actually going through. The strength it took to get through that without completely breaking down, without lashing out, without telling the world, you have no idea what I'm going through, is absolutely remarkable. And you know what's even more remarkable? Jennifer's compassion. Even now, when she talks about that period, she doesn't trash Brad or Angelina. She doesn't claim to be a victim or demand sympathy. She simply says that it was a painful time, that the media made it harder than it needed to be, and that she's moved past it. She's even said that she can understand in hindsight how Brad might have felt trapped or confused during their marriage, struggling to support her through fertility treatments while his own desires for fatherhood grew stronger, and then meeting someone who stirred feelings he hadn't expected. This level of empathy and understanding is something that only comes with time and serious emotional work. Jennifer has said that she's grateful for the journey she's been on, even the painful parts, because they've made her who she is today. She's talked about how she's at peace with not having children, how she's found other ways to nurture and create and leave her mark on the world. She's mentioned that she poured all the love she would have given children into her work, her friendships, and her efforts to make a positive impact. In 2025, as of the latest reports, Jennifer is dating Jim Curtis, a hypnotherapist and life coach. Sources say this relationship feels different for her, that Jim has helped her slow down and look inward in ways that feel healthy and grounding. He's not a Hollywood guy, which means their relationship isn't playing out in the public, either way her previous relationships did. They can just be two people getting to know each other without the world analyzing every interaction. And Jennifer seems genuinely happy, genuinely at peace with where her life is. Looking at Jennifer's journey from that devastated woman in the Vanity Fair photo shoot in 2005 to the confident, grounded, successful woman she is today, you can see such incredible growth. She's taken control of her narrative in a way that's really powerful. She's no longer letting other people define her story or tell her who she should be. She's living on her own terms, making choices that feel right for her, and refusing to apologize for the life she's built. One of the most powerful things Jennifer has said recently is that she has nothing to lose by telling the truth at this point in her life. She's established in her career. She's financially secure. She's built a life that fulfills her. She doesn't need anyone's approval anymore. So she can finally speak her truth without fear of how it will be received or what people will say. And that's exactly what she's doing. The revelations about her fertility struggles have resonated with millions of women around the world who have gone through similar experiences. Jennifer has received an outpouring of support from women who say they felt seen and understood for the first time, who appreciate her honesty about a topic that's still somewhat taboo, who were grateful that someone with her platform was speaking openly about infertility and the grief that comes with it. This is the power of celebrity when used for good. The ability to shine a light on experiences that people go through in silence, to normalize conversations about difficult topics, to make people feel less alone in their struggles. Jennifer has used her painful experience to create connection and understanding. And that's a beautiful thing to come out of such a difficult situation. Now, let's talk about the broader cultural implications of Jennifer's story. Her experience reflects something that so many women face. The pressure to have it all, to be beautiful and successful and a perfect mother, and the judgment that comes when you don't achieve that impossible standard. Women are constantly being told that they can have it all, but then when they prioritize career over family or struggle with fertility or choose not to have children, they're criticized and judged. Jennifer has become a symbol for women pushing back against those expectations. She's living proof that a woman's worth isn't determined by whether she has children. She's shown that there are many paths to a meaningful life, and none of them are inherently better or worse than others. She's normalized the idea of a woman choosing to focus on her career, or choosing to be childless, or wanting children but being unable to have them, and still living a full, rich, happy life. The fact that it took Jennifer 20 years to feel comfortable sharing her truth says something troubling about our culture. Why did she feel like she couldn't defend herself at the time? Why did she have to sit in silence while false narratives were published about her? Because she knew that revealing her fertility struggles would have made her seem weak or damaged or pitiable, and she refused to be any of those things. She chose to maintain her privacy and her dignity, even at the cost of being misunderstood and vilified. But times have changed. We now live in an era where celebrities are more open about their struggles, where vulnerability is seen as strength rather than weakness, where sharing personal challenges can create community and connection rather than judgment and pity. Jennifer's willingness to open up now is part of that cultural shift, and it's making a difference. Let's also acknowledge the role that Brad and Angelina played in this story, because it's not entirely fair to paint them as villains. Brad has never publicly discussed the details of his divorce from Jennifer, maintaining a respectful silence that suggests he knows there's no winning in a public he-said-she-said scenario. In the few times he's been asked about it, he said that he has respect and affection for Jennifer, that their relationship was important to him, and that he wishes her well. Angelina, for her part, has said that she and Brad fell in love during Mr. and Mrs. Smith, but didn't act on it while he was married. She's maintained that she would never be the reason for someone's marriage ending, that she respects the sanctity of marriage too much. Whether you believe that or not is up to you, but she's been consistent in that story for 20 years. What's interesting is that Brad and Angelina's relationship, which seemed so perfect and meant to be at the time, ended up following a similar trajectory to Brad and Jennifer's. Brad and Angelina married in 2014 after nearly a decade together, and then Angelina filed for divorce in 2016. Their divorce has been long, contentious, and very public, involving custody battles over their 6 children and allegations of abuse. It's been messy in a way that Brad and Jennifer's divorce never was. There's probably some satisfaction for Jennifer in seeing that Brad's relationship with Angelina didn't turn out to be the fairy tale it appeared to be. Not because she wishes him harm, but because it validates that the problem in her marriage to Brad wasn't just her inability to have children. If it had been that simple, Brad would have found happiness with Angelina and their children, and they'd still be together. The fact that they're not suggests that Brad has his own issues to work through, his own patterns in relationships that have nothing to do with whether his partner can give him children. And isn't that the truth about most relationship breakdowns? They're complicated. There's rarely one simple reason why things fall apart. It's usually a combination of factors: timing, compatibility, communication, external pressures, personal growth that happens at different rates. Jennifer and Brad's marriage ended for a variety of reasons, not just the one the tabloids focused on. And by reducing it to a simple narrative of she wouldn't give him kids, so he left her for someone who would, we did both of them a disservice. Jennifer's willingness to complicate that narrative now, to show the nuance and pain behind the headlines, is really valuable. It reminds us that celebrities are real people with real feelings, that their relationships are just as complicated as ours, and that we should be more careful about the stories we tell about them, especially when we don't have all the facts. As we look at where Jennifer is now, compared to where she was 20 years ago, the transformation is pretty incredible. She's gone from being a woman defined by her relationship status and her reproductive choices to a woman who defines herself. She's gone from being a tabloid punching bag to being a respected actress, producer, and advocate. She's gone from hiding her pain behind a perfect smile to speaking openly about her struggles and using them to help others. And perhaps most importantly, she's gone from feeling like she failed because she couldn't have children to understanding that her worth has nothing to do with her ability to procreate. She's built a legacy through her work, her friendships, and her advocacy. She's touched millions of lives through her performances and her honesty. She's shown that there are many ways to matter, many ways to make a difference, many ways to live a life that's worthwhile. So when Jennifer says she's finally breaking her silence about the truth behind her marriage to Brad Pitt, what she's really doing is reclaiming her story. She's correcting the record not out of bitterness or desire for revenge, but out of a commitment to truth and a desire to help other women who might be going through similar struggles. She's showing that you can be knocked down by life and still get back up. You can face betrayal and heartbreak and public humiliation and still maintain your dignity. You can have your dreams crushed and still build new dreams. The truth behind Jennifer and Brad's marriage is ultimately a human story about two people who loved each other, built a life together, faced challenges they couldn't overcome, and eventually went their separate ways. It's a story about infertility and the pain it causes. It's a story about falling out of love and falling in love with someone new. It's a story about media narratives that hurt real people. And it's a story about resilience and growth and eventually finding peace. Jennifer Aniston's journey from that devastating divorce in 2005 to where she is today is a testament to her strength, her grace, and her determination to live life on her own terms. She could have become bitter. She could have retreated from public life. She could have spent years seeking revenge or nursing her wounds. Instead, she chose to heal, to grow, to thrive. She chose to build a life that makes her happy, regardless of what anyone else thinks about it. And now, 20 years later, she's finally able to tell her truth without it defining her or limiting her or making her a victim. She's able to say, "This is what really happened, and I'm okay. I built a beautiful life, and I have no regrets." That's not just breaking silence. That's breaking free. That's winning in the most meaningful way possible, by becoming the best version of yourself despite everything life throws at you. So the next time you see a headline about a celebrity breakup, remember Jennifer's story. Remember that there's always more going on than what we can see. Remember that the people involved are dealing with real pain and real challenges that we know nothing about. And remember that the judgments we make and the narratives we create can have real consequences for real people. Jennifer Aniston's truth about her marriage to Brad Pitt isn't just her story. It's a reminder to all of us about compassion, about not rushing to judgment, about recognizing complexity of human relationships, and about the courage it takes to live authentically in a world that's constantly trying to put you in a box. And that's a truth worth hearing, worth sharing, and worth remembering.